expression of a midah is, in the end of the day, is an expression of the core me. This is who I am. This is who I am. So why do midos not change? Because, as we said, it's a mirror of the soul. It's ashrasha pshuta be'etzav nefesh mamish. It's literally undefined oneness. That's what it is. And you think about emotion, when you feel an emotion, first of all, emotions feel like they're never going to end. When you feel something, it feels like it's timeless. When you're in love, it feels amazing. It's just like, holy moly, how did all this time pass? When you're feeling that love, when you're feeling sadness, it feels infinite because it is a certain expression of the infinite. When you're feeling anger, you can't control yourself. It's taken over your whole body. It literally is an infinite expression. So, that experience also doesn't have necessarily words to it. Anger doesn't always come with words. It comes with like a full body experience. It's a pre-verbal communication. Well, what's pre-verbal? What came before words was the soul. The soul doesn't have words. It doesn't come in a form of expression of words. It doesn't speak in words because it's infinite. It's finite, meaning limited, is what words represent, is an expression of the body. So as soon as I speak a word, I'm now limiting. So an emotion is a feeling or something that feels infinite, something that feels like it's a lot, it's too much. I can't even understand why I'm feeling that way, is because it can't be met in the mind. It can't be met in the form of expression of understanding it and expressing it in words. It can't. It's too much. And the way we can understand this, the way we're going to be able to understand what midos really are, is by understanding the difference between ratzain and seichel. What's ratzain and seichel? Ratzain means I want, and seichel means my understanding. But ratzain is not, it says, a metzius on its own. It has no metzius on its own. What's a ratzain? So in one moment you want something, and the moment you don't want it, it's gone. Where to go? Seichel, intellect, the idea of seichel, intellect, it's you can say something, or you can learn something, and it stays with you. It doesn't leave, it's always with you. And it can stay outside of you as well. You can write down intellect, and it can stay outside of you. So it has its own mitzias on its own. It's its own mitzias. It's a separate entity. And you can see it's a certain form of separation. But ratzain is connected to what I want, and in the moment that I don't want it, it's lost. Which means it came as an intense moment. It came in the form of a certain desire. Like you say, I have a desire for something. Well, you have a desire for this thing. Because it's an infinite expression, like came down. It's like a channel of infinity coming down. It came, and it's what it says, the soul in movement. Ratzain is the soul in movement. I want. It's connected to I want, and the soul is just moving through, and it goes after things, and we don't know why sometimes. Can you think of a time in your life that you wanted something and you didn't understand why you wanted it? And it just like came out of nowhere? Say, where did that just come from? And sometimes the I want comes in a form that we do know where it comes from. Like, for example, I could logically be physically exhausted out of my mind, and I don't want to do anything but lie on the couch, and I go to lie on the couch, and then I see my kid is climbing up a ladder outside and he's about to fall off, and in that moment, I want is the soul in movement that says, I'm going to get up, jump up, it doesn't matter how tired I'm going to be there, I'm going to grab him, I'm going to save him, because I want, in that moment, connection. So it's the soul in motion. So when the soul sees something, it just gravitates towards it. It's a movement, and then as soon as it's done, it can go back to its regular thing, and then it's not there anymore. We don't live from a place of I want. So Ratzon is when I have a connection to something. Now I can also wake up a certain connection to Ratzon. I can wake up a certain connection to Ratzon. You ever felt in your life sometimes that you built a certain desire for something, you wanted something, and then you felt into it, and you connected more to it, and then you gravitated towards that thing. You felt that before? So you can also wake up desire. You can also wake up that Ratzon. Yeah. And Ratzon is also, it's the soul movement. It's an expression of, and what he says is the pnimius of the midos, so the highest expression of the midos in their form, because everything is the external expression of how it shows up in the world, and then there's the internal expression of what's its spiritual makeup, and then even within the spiritual makeup, there's an even deeper spiritual makeup of that thing, and that's how we understand the next levels, like from a muscle to a muscle. We know there's 4 worlds, and there's a reason that there's 4 worlds, and so Ratzon is the pnimius of midos. So it's the soul in movement. It's gravitating towards a certain need in that moment. It just comes in and it just goes in and it gets lost. Am I making sense over here? Yeah, that's basically that. And there's a deeper part of the soul, which is called the pnimius of what seichel is, the truth of what seichel is. Wow, look what's here. Okay, now I know we're meant to continue. No, the guy's been performing a whole night. He's not performing tonight. L'chaim. So the Rebbe is making a case here. What's the case? And I'm skipping a little because I want to give you something tonight. I had a desire to do this in 2 parts, but I want to actually give you something real. And now that Michael came into the room, we have to get very real. So, if what we're saying here is that our emotional expressions, and if you want to catch up, you're going to have to watch the recording, but the emotional expressions, okay, here we go. Just keep on going, just keep on coming. So just, Chaim. If what we're saying is that the emotional expressions of a person, my emotions, and now to catch up, you have to understand where the emotions come from. Emotions come from a deep place inside of me called the mirror of the soul. That's what the emotions come from, because the emotions are always expressing something that I really want. And what I really want comes from an expression of my soul. My soul is going into movement. It's saying, this is what I want right now. Why do we want that? Well, you can't explain why you want that. There's no explanation on why you want that, because it's an infinite expression of who I am. Why? Because it comes from a level that's called Toyu, which predates the world. Toyu is the world of chaos. That's why feelings feel like they're chaotic. We don't want to deal with them. We can't handle feelings. The Rebbe says now that, just one more second, that moichin, which is seichel, which is our cognitive faculties, are there to discuss things, to break things down, to work through things. It's always changing. I can always learn more. I can always understand more. But midos, emotional expressions, are the root of our soul, which means they don't change. They're part of us that doesn't change. We cannot change the fact that we're going to have emotions. And we also said that if a person doesn't express or experience their emotions or allow themselves to flow with the emotions of life, then they've cut off the expression of their soul. That's what they're really doing. That's what's happening. So my access back to my soul, to the root of my soul, so to speak, is being able to deal with my emotions. But if they're so strong, and if they predate the world, and they predate the experience of who I am, the most primal, the original emotion that we had was crying. One, the broken connection. When we left the womb, we cried. It was a very primal experience. So it's more connected to who we are. It's very strong. You can't tell a baby in that moment, hey, relax. So emotions came first, intellect came second. Intellect has less power over our emotions. How do we then function saying, or how can we make this comment that Moach shalet al halev? How is that possible? How could you say, I'm supposed to control myself? You're supposed to control your emotions. I'm supposed to control my soul's expression? Like, what are we talking about over here? That's who I am. And what happens when we tried to control it in the past? Or we said, like, let's say had a broken connection with some friends, like I felt hurt in connection, and I said I don't need connection. What ends up happening is I'm isolated and I'm sad, and I don't have connection. Well, why do I get isolated and sad? I should be okay with it, because I'm really not okay with it. Because if I really was okay with it, then I wouldn't be so sad all the time, and wouldn't be down about life. So my sadness is really a distorted form of what I really want, which is chesed. I really want connection. That's what I really want. So because I can't have it, I isolate myself and I'm sad. So the expression is, the software could change. I could change the software from its sad form, its sad, down, depressed, feeling like I've no one in the world and I'm disconnected from everything and everyone and I'm all alone. What that really wants to guide me back to is that what I really want is connection. And what it really wants to guide me back to, well, where did I get my source of connection? Well, we talked about you can get it from your parents. But in the ultimate form of who I am, in the deepest sense of who I am, in the soul level experiences, I am connected to God, that's who I really am. I have a direct connection. Now, when my soul comes down to my body experiences life differently. So when it experiences life differently, it doesn't know of these concepts of, I'm connected. What does it mean I'm connected? I never experienced it. What are you talking about? You're speaking a foreign language. Of course you're speaking a foreign language, because I don't speak soul language. Soul language is understand what your emotions are communicating to you. That's soul language. Your soul's communicating something to you. It's saying, wake up. So it comes in the form of emotion. But I can't handle my emotions, so what do? I take pills. Of course, everyone does it. I'll admit it. Or if you don't take a pill, you take a drug. Or if you don't take a drug, you take a wine, or you take a scotch, or you take a XYZ, whatever else it's going to be. Because I don't want to feel anymore. I want to not feel. I want to escape the feeling. I want to jump out of life. So feelings are so intense. So how then can it be that something that came after and is limited in its capacity because it needs to grasp everything, in its cognition is there to grasp things. You can't grasp emotions. So my cognitive faculties cannot even control emotions because emotions are an infinite expression. So the Rebbe's point here is like, how is it that we can even say this comment that Moach can be shal al halev? It doesn't even make any sense. Of course it doesn't make sense because emotions don't make sense. But if emotions are that powerful, how can we just stop, think, and control ourselves not to act out? It's almost like an what is it? What's the word? It's too much expectation. It's like, it's beyond my capabilities. So it's a valid question. You hear what I'm saying? Do you hear the question? If you hear the question, it's a doorway to something new. That's what a question does. A question opens up a new way of relating to things. Do you hear the question? Because And to hear the question, you have to make it personal. Do you struggle to control your emotions or to rationalize your emotions out of being an emotion? Or what do you do when you get emotional? And just, is it something that you can always be in control of, that you can always show up to and say, I got this? So then it's an authentic question to say, how could the moyach be shalit al halev? Right? Are we here today? Is everybody here? It's a valid question. So can you think of something in your life where you weren't able to control yourself? Yeah?
Fear.
What? Fear? Sometimes fear, anger, yeah. Yeah, everyone gets that. I mean, we could work through someone's actual thing. I could show you the process of what I was going to talk about in the mimer over here, but what he gets to the next point to say is the Rebbe makes a strong point here, which I don't think could be taken lightly, but might seem obvious to some people, it might not seem so obvious, but he says that in the nature of a person, a person really, in the nature of who they are, really, really wants to go after good. And he wants to be far and push away from things that aren't good. That's the nature of a person. And when he doesn't know where he stands, or he doesn't know from good and bad, when he's in a situation where he does not know, he cannot see good or bad, or he cannot find goodness in his life, then the true nature of the midas, of where the midas really actually where they reside, which is in connection with God and all those kinds of things, they're in a hidden form, they're behelim. So I can't feel connected, I can't feel that connection. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so the Rebbe says then, what pops up is seichel pops up. Why does seichel pop up? Because seichel acts, again, as we said at the beginning, is seichel acts as a compass towards the truth. It's like a mar makoimis. It's a place that points and says, this is where truth is. So in its nature, seichel acts as being able to be pointing in the right direction. Right? The moment we had a bris, we had what was activated when we had that bris, is this idea of an antenna towards the truth. Like I'm open towards the truth. I'm always searching on high. A Jew is always searching on high. We're always searching on high. We're always looking for the truth, deeper reasons, more. I need to understand this. I need to work through this. Why we want to understand it? Because we want to get the connection. Ultimately stay in connection with it. So that's the truth of it. But when I don't know where I am, and I'm in a lost place, and I don't have my access to the compass of truth in that moment, call it I've been hijacked by my emotions, let's just say. So knowing the truth is not going to matter in that moment. Knowing the truth can get me back on my feet, but knowing the truth is not going to matter in that moment, because even though it's there to know the truth, it's still so much stronger than knowing the truth is the primal expression of what's going on inside of us, and it just needs to be expressed, and it can't hold itself back. So it strengthens the question even more. It's like even, yeah?
The only thing that matters is our emotions in that moment.
Well, that's the way it seems. That's the way it feels. That's the way it seems and feels. And it almost seems like a lost battle. Like, how could I get over that? I'm feeling angry. Like, what do you want? It is an expression of my soul. I'm feeling angry. Like, how do I get from anger back to a healthy expression of gvura? Like, really respecting myself, really knowing who I am, really understanding what makes me up in my identity? Yeah, that takes a lot of work. What?
That goes to our relationship with Hashem.
Why do you say that?
So I find personally my emotions is connected to God that guides me. That kind of like a calling towards Hashem.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that prevent me from connecting to God are the things that prevent me from connecting to self. And I see it as like a chain.
Because the same thing in the end of the day. Because the connection to self, really, of who you really are, is connection as that godly expression, right? We were created in God's form. It doesn't feel that way all the time, though. Because the cards we were dealt to have that message feel like that's real, we're not the best cards. And that's why we're all here trying to work on it. Every single person here. So it was distorted. It came out dysfunctional. And today we're still mad, and that's why we haven't come back to the path that we know to be true, right? Our emotions are literally holding us back in life from being who we are, or the unhealthy expressions of them. It's not our intellect. We're smart enough. Everyone at this damn table knows the truth. Every single person here. If you don't know, I have no idea how you got access to this table. I literally have no idea. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know. We're literally fabrengen and going into it to figure out how to get there. It's the journey of our entire lives. And we're literally saying, okay, now that thing that we know, we're just supposed to plug in what we know, and then it controls our heart and we just move. That's not how it works. We don't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way. Right? But in the nature of who we are, we're searching for the good. And when we lost the direction for good is when we lost the direction to ourselves. And then the true nature of what we really are after gets lost as well. Our compass is gone. And then we need to search for those things in a distorted form. So today, if, let's say, I'm searching in all the wrong alleyways, v'chulu, wherever I'm going, or all the wrong websites, v'chulu, it's because really what I really want is something so much deeper than that. And every time I go back to that thing, I'm reinforcing that I believe that I can't get it. But it's such a strong belief that I can't get it, and we keep on going back to it, because even though we know the truth, we really feel that we can't get it. So the feelings are even stronger. I can know the truth and still go back to those things. Well, how do I go back to those things? How do I know? How do I keep on going back to those things? Which makes the question even stronger.
So the mind actually controls that.
The mind cannot control the heart. My heart's after
I
it.
keep going back.
Meaning, my mind knows, don't go to those websites. And what do? Go to those websites. What are we talking about over here? My mind knows Instagram is bad for me. What do? We go to Instagram.
But going deeper into what is that drive?
So what is that drive? So in the core of what it is I want connection. Let's just say for that. In the core of what it is. And I believe this is my only way I'm going to get connection, because my ability to experience connection has been broken. The true authenticity of connection has been broken. And I'm playing from a level of survival now. But me going to those websites is actually a very spiritual process. I'm looking for something very, very spiritual, because remember, if the emotions are driving me, that means it's an expression of my soul. And if it's an expression of my soul, that means it's a spiritual process. That means what I'm actually looking for is spirituality. When a person goes to those places, they're looking for spirituality. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's not a logical thing, because you can't say 1 + 1 = 2. When someone goes to those places that don't make sense, nonsense, I've gone to a place that it's out of my mind, it's in my emotional expression, which is rooted in the true expression of my soul. It's right here, it says it. So I'm after spirituality. And why am I after it there? Because the spirituality that I'm embodying in that moment is the animalistic drive, which is saying, animalistic says there's no God. It's right here, right now. What you see is what you get. Limited. Survival. Trauma. I'm living from my trauma. And when an addict goes and does a program called the 12 steps, you know what they say every time? I am an addict every single day, and they reinforce it every day. What's that called? That's called living from the trauma. I'm not putting it down, but I kind of am. Because it doesn't work.
Break free from the trauma.
A person has to not unidentify with that part of them. Yeah, I can acknowledge that that is a search for spirituality. That's what I can acknowledge. And I can acknowledge it's coming in a really messed up form. That means I'm even more spiritually sensitive. But that's not who I am.
That's the start.
What?
For me personally, it was where I found God.
I get it. I'm not putting it down. That's like a Band-Aid. It's like if I need to take an anti-anxiety medication, I'm going to take it. Because I need to take it because my emotions have gone so bad. I'm so out of whack. I'm so out of alignment. I'm so out of control. Take the meds for now. Take the support for now. But recognize that's not going to take you to who you really are. Because that's not who you are. The addict is the most spiritual seeker because it's the most distorted form of the physical pleasures of this world, which means he's after the highest spiritual levels. It's l'umazeh. It's always a mirror in the opposite way. So I'm really after something. Those things that I'm after, what happens? A guy puts a filter on his phone. So what's he doing? And I don't think there's anything wrong with it if that's what you need to do or you want to do. But recognize that when you put a filter on your phone, or when someone puts a filter on the phone, you're not necessarily solving anything because all you could be doing is suppressing. Because the craving for what I really want in its most authentic form is spirituality. But that craving is showing up in that form. It's desiring that. So you put the filter on, now you block the craving. So what'd you do? You shut off the soul. And then you can't control it, and then it comes out in even more distorted forms because it has to it's like spirituality pushing against its suppression, and it needs to come out, and it comes out in the craziest forms because the more you suppress it, the stronger it comes out. So the deepest level of addiction is really the deepest level of spiritual seeking. And why? Because when I say to you that someone has this type of addiction and there is no way that you can understand it, exactly, it's not a logical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's an emotional thing. And the Rebbe talks about that, not necessarily in this mimer, but in a couple of other mimers about the root of all addiction is the spiritual search, the spiritual seeker, the one who is spiritual. So, how does Moyach Shailet al Halev? How does that actually work? Because that's what we're all here for, I think. Make sense? You guys with me? Oh, but there's such a good point here, but I'm going to have to skip it because it's, you guys are going to fall asleep on me. So we'll give this point because this is so cool. It's just, okay, but just stay with me here. I think, we'll sing a niggin first before we're going to sing a niggin before we play a niggin.
Why is something so holy as an expression of the soul that gets so dirty?
Well,
Where does it,
the strongest form of the expression of the infinite is I can go and be anywhere. I'm not limited to anything. Isn't that interesting? My mind can be limited to how far we can go. If we live in our mind, We're always seeing limits within the mind. But why is asking a question on why are you this way? That's what it's really asking. If I'm asking why do I do that? Well, again, if I'm going to the level of why I need to understand it, then I'm going to label it, and then you're an addict. I'm sorry, that's.
Because you're like limiting something infinite.
So when you don't understand fear, and a person has so much fear, and they have so much anger, or they have so much sadness, then we're going to label it, because we need to understand it. You can't understand it. It doesn't speak the same language. Who are you talking to? So imagine someone is in a full-blown emotional expression, their soul is in movement, and you say, wait a second, let me make sense of this. What are you saying to that person? You're saying that you should stop expressing your soul in that moment. And you're going to use a part of you that is not even in relationship to this thing, the thing that tries to control and grasp things, and the emotion says, I want full expression, and I don't want to be limited, and I can't be limited, and you're going to try to control it. You're going to tell your wife when she's full-blown angry, just relax, breathe into that. She's just slap you in the face. That's what's going to happen. You're going to tell your kid when he's like going crazy emotional, just relax. And let's make sense of this. He's going to kick you in the nuts. Straight up. That's what's going to happen 9 out of 10 times. One time you get lucky. But the emotions can't even relate to the language of limits. So how then does this process happen? That I can get to a place where and it's a Torah concept that says that the Mayach is Shalat al Halev. It says that's what it is.
Translate that, sorry.
Which means that my mind can control my heart. My cognitive faculties can control my heart. But it doesn't make sense. And the Rebbe is challenging that. In fact, the Rebbe is saying the whole story of the spies was when they went into the land of Israel, they saw that the 7 nations, which represent the 7 emotional attributes of a person, were too much for them. So they said, they're too strong for us. We can't handle this. There's no way we can do this. And they made sense. From a logical standpoint, they made sense. Because Kalev even, he said to them, you make sense. We could still do it, but you make sense. I agree with what you're saying. They are strong. So I guess the first step is to acknowledge when we're feeling an emotion, because that was the first step that Kalev did. That's the first step. Acknowledge that you're feeling an emotion, that you are triggered. When you're judging someone, what's always going to be the first step is for you to acknowledge what you're doing right now. That's the first step to be able to understand, where am I operating from right now? Am I operating from an emotional perspective, where I'm being triggered, I'm into something, or am I in a place where I'm just exploring, I'm seeking out higher vibrations of life and so on and so forth, or curious or inquisitive? I'm in my mind right now, or is there something going on for me when I'm throwing down things, or I'm judging people, and so on and so forth? So that's the first step. I want to acknowledge where I'm operating from. And the reason I want to acknowledge is because, like we said, if it's an expression of the soul, then my soul wants to be heard in that moment. And it's coming from a deeper place of the I, a deeper place of who I am. So it can't be invalidated, it can't be cut off, but a lot of times that's how we feel. And when I want my wife to relax, by the way, it's because me, can't handle the infinite expression that's coming at me. Because I don't know how to handle emotions myself, so I can't handle her emotions. It's too much for me. So learning how to actually handle your emotions is going to help you be better at relationships. So what he says here is, in the source of the soul is this level of a certain expression that comes in the form of midos, but in the highest form of the cognitive faculties is rooted what's called chachma, which we talked about earlier. What's chachma? Chachma is when we go to a place of not knowing. I don't know if you can understand what I mean, because if you understood what I mean, then you're not understanding what I mean. You know what I mean? Because chachma is not understanding. It's all of a sudden this epiphany comes. You don't know where it came from. You don't understand how it got there, but this flash of wisdom came, and I just felt it in that moment. It's just like this inspiration, like boom! It's like, whoa, where did that come from? And usually it comes from when you're thinking about something so hard, and you're trying to figure something out, and then you realize, I can't figure this out anymore. And then it comes. It's like, holy crap, how did it just come? And the reason it came is because what you're experiencing in that moment is what's called bittul. What's bittul? Bittul is going to a place of what the ultimate knowing is, where ultimate wisdom comes from, in the highest nature of what it is tachlas hayediyah shaloi neidach, which means the ultimate source of wisdom is to know how much we don't know. The higher I go in my wisdom, the higher I'm searching, and I'm always searching higher, I'm going to realize how infinitely great the wisdom of the world is, because it comes from the Creator, and the Creator is infinitely great. And so in its nature of its source, where I'm searching upwards, I'm meeting humility in the process. I'm realizing how much I don't know. It's that moment that I feel humble and I don't know. What is that level of I don't know? That level of I don't know is called bittul, which is called humility, which is called I'm letting God in that moment. So, practically, how does this, what actually happens here? So if the source of all of the mayach is chachma, which is bittul, which is going to a place of not knowing, which is a place of humility, which is letting God in. You know, these moments where you say like, God, what do you want from me already? What do you want from me? What do you want from me? I get to those moments where I just feel completely broken. And those moments, mina meitzar karasika, like from the depths is where God, I let God in when I'm feeling that brokenness. And what happens when I'm feeling broken and I call out to God, where I'm just like, what do you want from me? I get to that place of humility, is something comes in. Something more comes in. Practically speaking, how this works is, let's say I'm feeling emotional. And if I'm really in a deeply stuck emotional state, I'm feeling trapped in my emotions, like I can't get out. What does Moyach Shalit al Halev mean? In that moment, I drop into the source of all wisdom, which is, what is it?
Not knowing.
Not knowing, which means, what am I touching in that moment?
Godliness.
Touching godliness. So I'm saying to myself, when I'm experiencing the emotion, this is a godly moment. This is what I need right now. This is a communication from God. I'm dropping into humility in that moment. Not fighting against the emotion. Not trying to make sense of it. But dropping into the deepest space of wisdom, which is going right to the source, which is not knowing. And saying, I'm trusting the process. Sometimes that's what it looks like. I'm trusting the process of what I'm going through right now. I believe this is for me. You know, there's two types of people. There's people that believe that life is happening to them. I'm a victim to the circumstance. Oh, my life sucks, and I'm angry, and I'm frustrated, and I'm sad, and I'm fearful. Or life is happening for me, and God is communicating to me. And in that moment, I'm saying, I'm trusting this process, this where my soul wants me to be, And when in my most primal emotional states that I say this is where I need to be, I drop into humility in that moment, and the animal consciousness, this strong, intense emotions in that moment melt into the existence of being okay to being able to express it that way. They literally melt into the existence of self-acceptance and humility of what you're going through in that moment. And there's no more dysfunctional emotional experience in that moment, because I'm completely given over to what's happening to me, and I'm surrendered what's happening to me in this moment, which is the source of all wisdom of life, is connecting to God and saying, this moment needs to happen, this moment needs to happen, and God is communicating something to me, and I need to go through this right now, and full-blown acceptance of the moment, which is a humbling process. A lot of times a humbling process. To say to someone, I'm going through an emotional, I'm going through this, this is what's happening to me in my life. To humble yourself is always, that's why the 12 steps, you find God there because you're humbled, you're already broken. Once you're broken, you can find God.
That's amazing.
So in the moment that I drop in and I say, this is what's for me right now, even though I wanted this complete picture of my life, and I wanted to look like this guy, and I wanted to act like this way, and I wanted to not lose myself in the anger, and I wanted to not go to sadness. You humble yourself in that moment. And you say, this is exactly where I need to be. Trusting the process. And you go into whatever that emotion is, you let it be. And a lot of times it just comes out in a deep, deep expression of crying and grieving, because you wished it wouldn't have to be that way. You wished it wasn't so hard. You wished you could just experience love and joy always. But you say, this is what I'm here for, God. I'm showing up. And when you drop into that, which is what the level of what Kalev was saying to the spies, he was saying, I understand it's really strong. It looks like you can't handle it. But there's something else that we have that's stronger than all that. It's called humility. It's a direct access point to God. Bittul is a direct access point to God. And it's not bittul and I'm a nobody. It's not a bittul, I'm a nobody. It says, what's bittul? Bittul means I can be anything. It comes in any expression. It's infinite. I can be sad. I can be angry. I can be joyful. It doesn't have to, I don't always have to be happy. It's okay. It's okay. Bittul says I can go through the process of life. I can let things flow. It's when we fight the expressions of what we're going through and what we're experiencing that what happens? We get dysfunction. We fight it. So a lot of times, and today you'll see like spiritual trips. People have spiritual trips. I had a spiritual trip. Why? Because they took a mushroom. They think the mushroom is God now. Why? I found God. Why? No, you didn't find God. You met the natural expression which comes in the form of emotion, which is a connection back to your soul, and you let it flow. You didn't find God. You felt a spiritual experience. Because God is really found in those details as well that I don't agree with. In everything. And that's when you find God, is when you don't let the emotions take over you, you let the emotions flow through you. I embrace this moment as it's happening to me now, even though it's hard. And you let go to it. Let go to it. Struggling with something? Talk about it. Don't be a hero. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. You need to know how to humble yourself and work through it for real. I'm talking to myself. You hear me? You listening?
You want to ask your question?
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's interesting because, like, it's a beautiful message, because you would think the words Mayach Shal Tavaled, the push-up shot is that my mind controls my heart. If I think a certain way, then it will gear the emotions. But the Rebbe is saying that no, when you shut off your mind and realize you don't get it, that's when you have a chance to deal with your emotions. Otherwise, they are too powerful. So the only way is to surrender, saying I don't. So the shaila is, why is it still called mayach shalta aleh? It should be almost like shlilas hamayach shalat aleh.
Because the nature of Maya is to get to a point of knowing how much you don't know.
So it's still mayach.
And so I'm going to a point of, because the source of knowing is not knowing. Because I meet God in that space of realizing how, I just don't know. I get to that point.
The deciding to shut off our brain is still from our brain.
Exactly.
Still from mayach. So mayach is shalat aleh.
Yeah.
It is.
So it's shutting off, the brain has to shut off itself in order to be shalat aleh.
Yes, exactly.
It's like a paradox.
Because
Like, mayach shalta aleh pashut shat is mayach's going to deal with
the
it.
pneumius, he said, I didn't mention this point, but the pneumius of chokhmah, the pneumius, because there's a pneumius of the midos are ratzoin, the pneumius of chokhmah is tainug. What's tainug? Tainug says, I can feel pleasure because I am being. And the pleasure of being is not limited to anything, because that's the unlimited expression of God, is I can find pleasure in every moment, in everything. That's true tainug. Being, I am, is pleasurable. That's what tainug is. So, what's the source of all wisdom? Being able to be in any moment, at any time, and being okay with it. That's the true source of all pleasure in the world. What's spirituality? Let's just think about it like this. Spirituality is not found in a shul. You might feel more spiritual, but that's not spirituality. Spirituality has no dimensions to it, which means it can be found anywhere. It means you just have to tap in. So my access point to spirituality feels spiritual in different places, but if I'm really feeling spirituality, it's everywhere, in every moment.
It's internal job.
And it can come in any form. It can come in any form. Now, if you really want to know what gives me access to that, that comes from your relationship with your mother. Spirituality is always about the mother, always. So me being able to feel good in any moment is dependent on my relationship to the feminine model of the woman that I had in my life that represented being okay with everything and anything. Yeah. So, but I need to be able to feel spiritual. So, Chachma, and Chassidus is teaching us that Chachma is the access point to spirituality. Is what's real spirituality is bittul. What's bittul is I'm okay with everything. I can find pleasure in any moment. As sick as it might sound, because there's certain moments that are like should not be pleasurable. But what pleasurable means, real pleasure, is I can be me. This is okay for me. I can handle this. Infinite expression. Again, I met a new layer of myself and a new layer of myself. I can handle this. I can go through this. I'm meeting more infinite parts of myself. I was traumatized. I can get through this. Why? Because I'm infinite. And I'm working through it. And I'm getting to it. And that's through the feeling. Because the feeling wants to express itself. And Chachma says, go for it. Let go. But just remember that it's a divine expression. That the goal is to be able to be okay with this. That's where all feelings need to be rooted. I'm okay to experience this. Feelings get distorted when I feel like I'm not okay anymore. It's too much for me.
When you have to when someone says control yourself, that's not good.
Well, control yourself is not
Control your
possible.
emotions.
It's not possible. It's not control yourself. It's when they calm down from the emotion, you can say, hey, you can learn to choose to react differently to it, because you can. We can control our reaction, but we can't control that desire to react came up, because that's a craving for something. That's an expression. It needs to come out. So you can't tell a person to stop expressing themselves. Then you say, you label someone as, you got a problem. You got to take pills, because that's the way we're going to solve this problem. And like, okay, I am messed up. Let me take this pill, and that's what we do. And what the world is waking up to today is that's not the solution. It's not the solution.
Could you use anger as an example? You feel like you're punching a hole through drywall. You feel that.
So what we talked about before, so I'll tell you, what you also want to understand is, why do I have anger? We talked about this earlier in the shir. But the idea of why I have anger is always coming from, when it's expressed in its unhealthy form, is because someone has challenged my identity. And the moment they challenge my identity, I get angry. Why? Because I only get angry because I don't really know who I am. Because if I knew who I was, I wouldn't get challenged. I wouldn't feel anger. When someone says you're a loser, or they give me that idea that they think I'm a loser, I cannot get angry about that if I know who I am. But when I don't know who I am, and they challenge that, I'm going to get angry because I got to show you who you are. I got to show you who I am. I got to put you in your place.
When someone gets offended, basically.
Yes.
When someone says to them, it comes from a place of not knowing who they are.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's nothing to do about it other than feel it.
Well, okay, so there's nothing, so that's a good question. So what do I do? So what's the actual process of what we do? So in a workshop, what we teach is known as the 4 quarters in the past, or the outside the box process, is where I really let the feeling be, because that's what needs to happen always. The problem is I don't want to let the feeling be. I want to say it's bad, I want to say it's unhealthy, I want to say it's wrong, because that's what my parents told me. Why? Because they couldn't handle my feelings. They couldn't handle what I was going through. So I'm just perpetuating the problem by relabeling it as the wrong way, not realizing that it's a communication. So I can give it space, because if my mother would have given me space and my father would have given me space to feel my feelings and to go through it and to just be okay with it, teach me how to be okay with my feelings, teach me how to access that I can handle and experience anything and not shut it down, then what I would have done was, I would today have a feeling that comes up and be able to just sit there and breathe into it and feel it, hold space for it, and let it pass through me. And know that this was just something that needed to be communicated to me, because I wasn't meeting one of my primal drives, which could be connection, being a somebody, having success, and so on and so forth, what we talked about earlier. So when I'm not meeting those needs, or when those needs weren't met for me growing up, I'm going to have an unhealthy way of meeting those needs, and I'm going to have an unhealthy way of expressing myself when someone challenges me in those areas that are weak. And the level on top of that, which we have spoken about in the past, is a lot of people numb themselves. Some people are very strong and they can numb themselves easier because they just have better coping mechanisms internally. And some people just literally spend all their time being brain dead. Literally. Like, look at your phone and see how many hours you spend on it and what you spend it on. It's right in front of you. They're giving it to you today. They're handing you a silver flippin' platter. Like, see the damn message. What are you doing with your life? And it's okay. It's fine. But what you're doing when you're doing that is you're not feeling. And when you're not feeling, you're blocking your soul from expressing itself. Because we don't really have problems in life, and this is my belief, is we have feelings that we don't want to feel. That's it. That's game over. That's all it is. The reason we don't want to feel them is because we don't know how to let it come in and express it, because it's really intense. And it didn't work out well in the past. It just didn't. If it did, you'd have no problem. So we can start admitting to ourselves, I don't know how to feel my feelings. Okay, what do you want to do about it? You want to still live from that place of wasting your life on your phone? Some people even pick up a phone while they're in a shear. They'll do it because the message is too intense. They don't want to hear it. That's the way people operate. We just unconsciously go to those things. We like, turn off. I can't hear this message. It's too intense for me. Holy. And we go there. It's like so powerful. The emotion is so powerful. It guides us into those unconscious patterns. It says, go, turn off, shut off. It's crazy. Don't do that. Don't go there. And you're running away from yourself. That's all we're doing. We're running away from who we really are. So the whole process of life is to get back to who you are. How? Feel your feelings. That's it. How do you feel your feelings? With humility. How do we do that whole process? It is the hardest process in the world. And you can do it. Because the Meraglim felt that they couldn't do it. They couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael. They felt that, what were they saying? They were saying psychologically, this is not going to work out, God. Don't go into Eretz Yisrael. There's so much stronger than us. It's compulsions, it's addictions, it's everything. Everything's in there. All the craziness of feelings. Do you know how crazy it could be? It's intense. It's nuts. Don't do that. Don't go there. Their complaint was real. And Kalev said, I hear you and we can do it. Because that is the truth. Every time you fall, it's because you haven't met the greatness of who you are. Every time you succumb to those patterns that you call negative in your life, your addictions, your compulsions, it's because you haven't met the greatness of who you are. You're not connected to who you really are. Because the opposite, the opposite of addiction is connection. Right? That's that step in 12 steps. They say you have to humble yourself to a higher power. Why do we have to do that? What's the process of doing that?
We have that in Judaism too.
That's the beginning to all healing. Is to know what you're connected to. The beginning of all healing is to know what you're connected to. That's the path. Everything else is commentary. And it's really hard. And the spies were trying to help us. But here we are, and we know that we can do it. And we can do it because we're here. And it's a fight, and it's a struggle, and it's a lot, and it's infinite, and it's great. And it seems like we can't do it, and then we just let go. We just breathe, and we just meet our greatness, and handle everything that comes your way. Because you're so epically powerful beyond your belief. You want to throw it down right now, everything? You want to know why we all have addictions? Is that what you want to know? Is that what we all want to know? Why do we have addictions?
No, I want to know
Okay,
how
fine.
to get out of addiction.
No, you don't.
Why not?
You have to appreciate what it serves.
I think, yeah, I know what it says.
So if an addiction is a search for spirituality, then it's safe to say, what is spirituality? Well, what do we say spirituality is? Does anyone remember? What do we say spirituality is? Connection to your mother. Because, why? How do we know that? I'll explain to you. What's a mother? A mother doesn't have a job. Doesn't go out and work. Meaning maybe in certain families she needs to, but a mother doesn't have a job, she needs to be a mother. She needs to stop everything and she needs to have a baby. And give over her life and be okay with everything. In fact, she's not even bound by mitzvahs. She lives in a spiritual space. She lives in a spiritual dimension, just being okay with what she is. The women that aren't okay with what they are called feminists. But a woman in her divine femininity is pure spirituality. She's just totally okay to be herself and to be okay with anything. So, if I have a connection with my mother, I'm in touch with my spirituality and how I can feel good in any moment without needing anything. What do I need? What do I need something? What do I need a cigarette? Oh, I need this, I need that. What do I need something? Because I'm not in touch with my spirituality. I'm not in touch with being okay with any moment, any time. I need something. I'm jumping out of my body. I need to go get something. Why? Because I don't have a connection with my mother. And if I don't have a connection with my mother, because she didn't have a connection with her spirituality, let's just say, then something's missing. And I'm in search for this connection to something. I'm in search for connection to spirituality. So how do I find spirituality? In addictions. Why addictions? Because addiction helps me escape the moment. What's an addiction? I don't want to be here. I'm searching for that spiritual moment. I'm searching to escape reality. Why do I need to escape reality? Because I'm searching for spirituality. Why do I search for spirituality? Because I didn't have a mother who connected me to the goodness of who I am, to being okay with every single moment, with everything in life. I didn't have that. So I become an addict searching for this connection to divine femininity, which is being okay with everything in any moment. Spirituality doesn't exist in any single form. It can show up anywhere. Anywhere. The things that take us out of this world, that escape this world, are telling us that they're spiritual. They're communicating a message to our body. This is a spiritual experience. Porn is a spiritual experience. It's literally a fantasy. It goes to the deepest places and pleasures. So you feel like crap afterwards because you know that's not what you're really after. But it's spiritual. A cigarette? Imagine a cigarette. Just smoke a cigarette. I could be escaping reality in this moment. I have to deal with all of life's stress. When do we smoke? When we're stressed. Why are you stressed? Because you can't deal with life because you're not in touch with your spirituality. Drugs? I need to find a spiritual moment. I need to escape. Booze. And the reason I'm stuck on needing spirituality in my life is because I'm still stuck in my mother's sphere of influence and I haven't moved from that yet. I haven't become a man yet, because a real man can delay gratification, can stand up for what he believes in and values and say no. That's what a real man is. Someone who can't say no to their addictions is still in his mother's sphere of influence and is still looking for a spiritual connection and has not entered his masculine power. Someone who can't say no is not a powerful man. Straight up. You're still in your mother's sphere of influence. You're still looking for spirituality. And you know why it's called the 12 steps? Because you never get to step 13, which is becoming a man. It's bar mitzvah, brother. Dropping the mic on that one. And that's why you always stay an addict. Because I'm still stuck looking for spirituality, not realizing what I'm really after. I stay stuck in that program. I stay stuck in my mother's sphere of influence. I never become a man, and I say I'm an addict. I've demasculated myself. You are calling the greatness of who you are an addict? Are you effing crazy? Are you crazy to demasculate your existence? Are you nuts? You're a man. Do you know what a man embodies? I go out there and I'm a giver. I step in the footsteps of Avram Avinu. Are you nuts to call yourself an addict? Yitzchak and Yaakov, that's not a theory, that's reality, that's your DNA. We could trace it all the way back. We haven't met the greatness of who we are, and that's why we struggle to be. We're still stuck on mommy, we're still stuck on finding spirituality, we're a demasculated generation, and because men aren't being men, women are trying to be men. And now everyone's trying to be everything. You can be anything. And no one wants to be themselves. And it all comes back to us as men. Stepping into your power. Knowing who you are. Not needing sex from my wife, but showing up to sex from a place of integrity. Of it's an honorable act, it's sacred, it's beautiful, it's romantic, it's pleasure for both sides. I show up to life with dignity, I show up to sex with dignity, I show up to who I am with dignity, I meet relationships with dignity, I treat money with a certain dignity. Everything becomes dignified. But when I'm a spiritual addict, because that's what I really am, just synonymous addiction with spiritual addict, that's what it is, it's a spiritual addict. I'm just haven't stepped into who I really am.